So, you want to go hunting. Maybe you're hungry, maybe you're looking to sell, or maybe you're just batshit crazy and want to find something to show to the world. Well, here's a guide to the one thing you don't do. Don't mess with the Skinwalkers. Stories of 10-foot beast, pale as snow, claws like kitchen knives, and teeth like drills. I can tell you one thing, they're frickin' real. So, a while back, a couple of my mates and I were getting pissed. We had just killed a bear harassing campers and were boasting over our win against nature. I remember my mate, Nathan, said something along the lines of, "I bet we can kill anything anyone throws at us." But he was cut off by the sound of a glass hammering down on the counter. We all turned around to face the origin of the noise, and we saw some old guy. Not your average veteran who's down on his luck. I mean, some poor frick who's been beaten half to death by life while watching everything he loves die.
"So, you wanna go hunting?"
he said, his tone low and rough. It seemed like his voice was shaking. "Yeah, what's it to you, old man?" retorted my other mate Alex. He was laughing and trying to imitate this guy's hunch and facial features, until he got hit in the face with a glass. The guy looked pissed, properly pissed. Like kicked in the balls by the guy who shagged your girl pissed.
"You know nothing of these woods, boy. If you want to be the king of the world, I'll give you a challenge you can't back down from."
He chucked an old diary at us.
"Go claim your glory, and come back to me when it's done."
He then swiveled on his stool and ordered another drink. Mark picked up the diary and handed it to me, his eyes full of excitement. We left the bar and flicked through the diary entries for a few months past. Photographs of some sort of family and sketches of dozens of sketches, scribbled and looking like they'd been done in seconds of a human, but not a human. Something lanky and hunched over. Every sketch, the thing wasn't facing the artist. It looked like it was feasting on something. But that wasn't important. Logs on expeditions, describing his hunt for this thing. This Wendigo, Rake, Skinwalker, Shy Guy, Goat Man. Multiple names were given to it. "This guy's lost it," someone chuckled. "Let's just leave it. Find some wolves or something that people want gone." But I shook my head. We couldn't just leave it. This guy may have been mad, but the pictures looked so similar and detailed. Bullet holes, scratches, scars. Every tiny mark was noted. "No," I heard myself mutter. "No. We gotta do this. Imagine what people would say when we drag this thing's rotting shitbag of a body back to town. People will call us heroes. We'll go down in history for finding a new species." My rallying speech obviously worked and the guys cheered. That was the worst thing I ever did. Even to this day. We call up more mates and gather everything together. We have 50 caliber rifles, shotguns, 44s, and a few knives. In total, we have 19 guys. The more the merrier, and some sleeping bags, tents, cans of food, etc. We hop in our vans and follow the guys' directions to find a place to camp for the night, and we'll hunt the next day. We light a fire, drink and sing like madmen, and eventually start to get ready to sleep. Mark goes off for a slash, and I remember the sound of howling, but not wolf howls. Low guttural moans, but too loud for moans, if that makes any sense. Imagine a guy whose throat has been ripped out. A few of us heard it, and my mate Alex jokes, "Hey, is Mark having some fun with his girl?" Which gets a laugh from the group, like it was the funniest joke in the world. But it wasn't funny for long. I woke up to the sound of screaming, retching, and vomiting. I grabbed my rifle and pushed myself out of the tent to see what the commotion was about. Oh God. Oh God. Oh fuck me, holy shit. How? Alex was shouting the loudest over the jittery and terrified shrieks of the guys. I pushed past and we see Mark. But not Mark. He was impaled by a branch. His left arm gone, his right hand gone, and his torso sliced open. His entrails hanging out of his body and dangling on the dirt, and he is coated in blood, and that's when I notice his face. It's contorted into a scream, but his jaw is missing, along with his eyes. We have to pull him down, and chunks of him fall off, cursing more, and vomiting and cries ensuing. Oh God, Mark. Mark, I'm so sorry. Alex was crying now. He'd pissed himself at this point, and I was on the verge of shitting bricks. Some fucker did this, and we won't let him get away. Some big guy called Ralph, a friend of Alex, rallied. Let's get this fucker. He cries out, and we all cheer. We grab our shit and follow a blood trail someone left. Except for Alex. He is sitting by his tent and drinking between sobs. You ain't coming? I asked nervously, to which he smiles weakly. Nah, man, go get that bitch for Mark and me. He sipped his beer and stared ahead. I patted him on the back and I jogged after the others. We reached a cave entrance. The scent of sulfur was so strong I had to cover my mouth and nose with the collar of my shirt. However, it did not block out the stench. The entrance was caked in blood and carcasses of poor creatures, their bones decaying under the sun, streaming through the branches. The crunching of bones and the tearing of flesh echoed in the cave and gave me goosebumps. So, this thing is still feasting. Enjoy your last meal, fucker, I thought. Ralph decided we would set a trap and butchered the thing once it was caught off guard. We all nodded and followed our orders. And we caught a deer, slit its throat, and left it to bleed out. I wait and prop my rifle between two branches and aim it by the deer. Others are hiding in bushes or behind trees with machetes, bowie knives, and other firearms. Around a half an hour later, Sam got bored and yelled, "I'm gonna get this fucker!" He cocked his .44 and marched into the cave. We tried to stop him, but he made up his mind and marched in. We were all silent, as I'm staring around the corpse, I noticed the amount of creatures' paw prints. So many of them. But not the same creature. As if every creature on Noah's fucking Ark stopped by this stomp on the ground. Wait a minute, I heard myself whisper. When did wolves start walking on two legs? I was then interrupted by the most heart-wrenching noise anyone has ever let escape from their mouth. A scream. Not just any scream you hear recorded in movies or anything like that. A scream too high-pitched to be a guy's, but we knew it was. It started off as a shocked gasp. Very soon, shots rang out through the cave and it sounded like Sam's throat would break open, and then thumps. Heavy thumps of a body against stone. Then nothing. I hear myself whisper, "Fuck." And then a sob escaped my throat before I see it. This hairless human, tall as the tallest NBA player and then some, lanky as hell, and completely naked. That's when shit truly hit the fan. Ralph and a few other guys charged at it and tried to pin it down, but it just cut them down very easily. I cried out, "Kill it!" but I barely heard it myself. But we were all on the same page and shot every round that we had. We emptied every clip, but nothing. Nothing. It just kept hacking and slashing and biting and clawing and screaming at the guys in front of it until they were all just a pile of butchered meat. We had 17 men at the start of the attack, and they were dropping like flies. Dylan's legs were sliced clean off. Carl had his face smashed under the thing's giant foot. Andrew was smashed into the ground repeatedly until his body began to fall apart. And Ralph, he was lifted by the thing, by each arm and It ate his head whole before ripping his torso apart. The others were cut down in a blur, leaving 8. Me, Michael, Daniel, Nathan, Chris, Max, and 2 other guys stood up in pure fear. I couldn't give less of a shit if we killed it at this point. I had pissed myself. I had no second thoughts of the situation, and I bolted. I left the guys to die. I looked back to see that Nathan and Michael were behind me, followed by Daniel, Chris, Max, and 2 other guys. I didn't know, and following close behind. The thing, I don't know how it had reached us, but it did. I saw it slap one of the guys into a tree trunk. With a sickening crunch, he crumpled immediately, and the other guy got sliced in half by one of this thing's massive claws. Max tripped, but we couldn't care less. We heard his cries and the crunching of bones as his spine was ripped out of his back and he lay still. We kept on running. I don't know how far we got, but when we got to the camp, Alex was poking the fire with a stick. I remember screaming, "Start the fucking van!" And he looked up, his gaze fixed behind us, and he looked terrified, and then angrier than that fucking twat back at the pub. He picked up a branch and shoved it in the fire. We ran past him, and he tried dragging him with us, but he brushed us off calmly, but scarily. We started up the van and reversed out of there, but not fast enough to see Alex beating the thing with the branch, every strike harder than the last. He seemed to be winning when I stopped the car. Maybe he'd kill it. And then, maybe we found its weakness. Fire. We heard him shouting and screaming in an unknown sort of language, full of anger and rage. But when the branch snapped, he noticed it, and so did it. He turned around to run, but was impaled by the creature's slender arm, and we continued to get the fuck out of Dodge. We made it onto the road and hit the gas. We were going over 80, and I looked in the rearview mirror and looked behind us. This thing, covered in blood and guts and pieces of guys, simply stared, and then ran with incomprehensible speed, and it was gone. We parked outside the bar. Well, crashed into a pole and raced inside, crying and shouting. The forest! Daniel cried, before falling to his knees. Chris vomited and cried, hugging himself and staring at the ground. Michael was silent, and Nathan sobbed into his shoulder. That's the last thing I remember before blacking out. I woke up in a hospital. Men in black-looking motherfuckers were standing around with some nurses until they noticed I was conscious, and the nurses were ushered out. I was then treated to an interrogation of what some Al-Qaeda member would expect after being caught planning 9/11. They gave me no good cop, bad cop shit and gave it to me straight. Who was with us? What did we find? Did anyone else make it out? How did you survive? I answered without debate once I saw a black suitcase filled with tools beside me. They got me to sign a long piece of paper stating that I would never discuss any of this encounter to any living being. And then they left. And that was that. I was expected to just walk out, pretending everything was fine. I never saw that old guy who got us to enter those woods again, and I hope he's been taken and is being tortured somewhere dark and cold. Maybe Iceland. It's been 7 weeks since the incident. Chris shot himself 5 days ago, and Daniel has been placed into intense mental care and a psych ward. Michael and Nathan are the only ones I see anymore. We never talk about it, and we live our lives, trying to forget the scarring ordeal. But I don't think we ever will. And that's the story, guys. But not really. I still see that thing in my nightmares. I still hear its screams mixed with the others. And I will never forget Alex's face at the branch broke. So, if there's one thing to learn from this, whatever you hear, no matter how much somebody offers you, stay away from Skinwalkers, or be prepared to suffer a worse punishment that any sicko could conjure up. I'm taking my dogs out for a hunt soon, cause some feral ones have been racing around my hut and is pissing me off. I don't know how they began walking on their hind legs though. Thanks for watching this video. If you enjoyed it, please give it a thumbs up as it helps me out a lot. If you're new to the swamp, hit the subscribe button and turn on notifications, because I upload videos almost every single day on creepy stories and anomalous things just like this one. Much love and appreciation to Take Down for allowing me to read their story. I enjoyed it a lot. I'll leave their link in the description and pinned comment below so you can check out their other stuff if you like. If you have a story that you'd like to hear read on the Swamp Dweller channel, send it in to the email that you can find in the description below, or you can send it in to the website swampdweller.net. That's one word, swampdweller.net. See you guys soon for another creepy video.